Welcome aboard the Travel DJ Blend podcast. Rest assured, your captain and host Brian B. has logged extensive destination event miles as a headlining private event DJ. So expect to reach new heights each and every episode. Your captain will cover everything from DJ tips and tricks, travel hacks, and entrepreneurial advice. Keep your seat in the upright position while we bring you interviews with industry pros, pop culture commentary, and of course, music recs. The perfect blend. The fasten seatbelt sign is on, as we will likely experience turbulence from knowledge nuggets and truth bombs being dropped regularly. You're going to need your tray table, as taking notes is optimal. Smoking is prohibited on this flight, but your mindset shift will be fire. Your crew will be elevating the conversation and challenging the status quo. We know you have a choice when you fly this high, and we thank you for choosing the Travel DJ Blend podcast. Here's your captain, Brian B. Enjoy your flight.
Hey, private event DJs, are you still planning your clients' events with a Google Doc or a Spotify playlist? If so, let me help you out. Vibo is a music and event planning app for your clients that I've been using for years. Not only has it been a great perk in booking my services, but it's the only tool that has ever been mentioned in client reviews. Vibo saves you time. It syncs your music from your clients' requests in seconds, and it integrates with your music software of choice. Now here's an exclusive offer for my podcast listeners. Save $10 off your first month subscription by entering the promo code DJBrianB when booking your free demo on Vibo's website. This one small change will level up your business. Visit ViboDJ.com, enter the promo code DJBrianB, and book your free demo today. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Travel DJ Blend. I'm Brian B., your host. Hope you are well. If you're new to this community and checking this podcast out for the first time, I want to say thanks for doing so. Just so you know what you're in for, every episode we cover one of three topic areas, and then sometimes it's a mixture of the two, like today's episode. So the areas that we cover are 301 business strategies, one-of-a-kind music finds, and travel hacks. Today's episode is entitled FAMS and Minis, Networking Redefined. I would put this in the travel hacks category as well as the 301 business strategies category. Now, I've used shortened words for the title here, FAMS and Minis, so you might not know exactly what I'm referring to. The word FAM has gotten popular over the last few years in the destination event industry, but it's always been a shortened word used in the hospitality and travel industry, and it stands for familiarization. So a familiarization trip, a FAM trip, or for short, FAM. And in the travel industry, you would see a lot of travel agents or those that are selling certain properties go on these to be able to speak intelligently about the property because they've experienced it. And as destination events have become more and more popular, properties are allocating marketing dollars to host wedding professionals. Obviously, the wedding planner is the one that's the real driver here because they're typically the ones taking the lead on recommending certain properties and areas that work for their clients. But I would also say that influencers or those that tend to do a lot of destination events make sense for these FAMs because they're going to be working those properties and they want them to know the ins and outs and what's possible and all the things. So as an entertainer, it's always been tough to be invited to these. My reach is decent within my own niche of an industry, but as far as influence to clients to make a decision to use a property, definitely not something that I get an opportunity to push to a client often. Now, these FAMs are typically 1 to 3 days. It includes a site tour. They want you to experience the food that's going to be there. There's typically some activities or a spa experience they want you to go through. But as much as the property piece and the area is important to observe, I think there's also value in the people who are going on that specific FAM. You may not know them. You might know a few. And the person or persons who are putting this together, they want to find people who they think, hey, there's a good chance that we could be working together. And I think that this collection of people would get along, and they see the long-term value of the relationship of some of those folks or all of them going forward. So last week I was on a FAM in Vail, Colorado, a planner that I had met at Engage. We just hit it off. She was a good person, great personality. And I said, I would love an opportunity to do some work there. I think I can add some value there. I talked to her a little bit about my process and how I work with certain clients. And I think that resonated with her. And she said, you know what? I'm working on a FAM. And when it's ready to go, I'll send you an invite. Now, although she was the planner really putting this together, it helps when you have some other hands helping you organize this. So Phil Van Nostrand, who has been our resident DJ Collective photographer for years, was the other person really taking the lead on kind of communication and working things out. We had about 3 to 4 planners, I believe. Some that, again, I hadn't had a chance to work with, like Jason Ree and Michelle Norwood. Jason out of Los Angeles area and Michelle is out of Louisiana. There was Sarah Beth from Dallas and her number 2, Rachel. There were some photographers there. Paul Morse, photographer out of Louisiana. Catherine Frost, who has a wedding app she's developed. Then another really good friend, Julianne Smith from DC, who runs the Garter Girl. On the entertainment side, myself and then Jordan Kahn, we had a stationer, and then a few different properties were represented. 4 Seasons, Ritz-Carlton. So just a great group. And what I've found is that these FAM trips, while educational, it's the conversations. It's that hallway conversation that you have at conferences, but it's just longer because we have the time to continue those conversations, hear more about the person's business and what they do and how they work. Over a course of 3 days, you get a chance to really kind of pull back the layers of who they are. And Jennifer Pletcher, who put this together, did a great job of just coming up with starter questions and things that went deeper than surface level so you could hear the heart of certain people. Funny enough, I got off that FAM trip. Later that week, I got invited to another one. So from doing very few of these to 2 in 1 year is a lot for me as an entertainer. So I'll be headed to Martha's Vineyard for another one. Now, if you're listening to this, how do you get invited? Well, I think one, expressing interest to the people who are in those areas, that if there's ever an opportunity to get out there and see the place, you'd like to do that. That's a start. Generally, it's on everyone to get themselves there. And then when they get there, not always is a FAM completely covered as far as your room and board, but at the very least, there's a discounted rate that applies. In some cases, they'll cover the whole thing. So just kind of know that going in. But I'd also encourage you that if you have a location that is destination worthy, then maybe you tag a FAM onto something else. We in Florida did a planner dinner, and it was meant for a lot of the local planners, but I invited 4 or 5 out of town planners who were within driving distance to come to this because I thought that they would immediately fall in love with the area and potentially have clients that would come out this way. So they came to the dinner, and then I tagged onto that a FAM trip where for 2 days we toured properties. I had put them up in certain hotels. And again, a lot of these properties have budgets set aside for marketing to cover the cost of a lot of this stuff. So it doesn't always have to be that you're going somewhere. It could be that you're hosting and being a part of that. Now, I will say it does take a planner who is not easily threatened, because Jennifer, this is her home turf. And by her bringing in some of these planners like Jason and Sarah Beth and Michelle, if she wasn't a seasoned planner herself, she might feel like, hey, these people are taking my business. But she sees the greater value of them bringing business in to the area, puts more eyes on the spot. They can't possibly do every wedding in the area. Not all of them are fit for those other planners. So I think there's value in being a giving person because that stuff returns tenfold. And by the way, this group got along so well that we're already planning the next FAM with this group that went to Vail at another location. So it allows our bonds to grow even closer, and we get to experience other properties and other locations that hopefully we'll all get to work together at some point. Now we're going to talk about minis here in a second, but first, here's a word about one of our sponsors. True confession time. In 2010, I had grown my performance team to 13 DJs, and we were about to hit 7 figures in revenue for the first time. In a small town, no less. 15 months later, we were down to 3 of those 13 DJs, and I was blaming everything and everyone. It took years for me to realize that it was my leadership, company culture, and ultimately me that were the problems. If only Brock Barton Lifestyle Leadership Coaching had been around. Lucky for you, it is available now. And to me, this is a game changer for our industry. After everything we have all experienced in the last few years, health and wellness has never been more important. And Brock Barton Lifestyle Leadership Coaching is tailor-made for our industry. Go to brockbarton.com, and for my podcast listeners, mention Brian B for a free 1-hour coaching session. You have to first lead yourself before you can lead others. This is a can't-miss opportunity. So minis refer to mini retreats. They've been dubbed minis, I don't know from who, but these aren't FAMS because it's not necessarily a property that we're going to visit. In a lot of cases, it's an Airbnb or just a general area that you're getting a group of people together just to hang. One of the first ones I went on was in 2018 or 19 with some folks from Engage. We rented a Airbnb in Palm Springs, and for 3 days, we just hung out. There was no agenda, meaning there was no education or work. It was just really a chance for us to connect with people. We brought in a bartender. We had maybe a chef one of the days. Outside of giving the organizer maybe $100 or $200 just to put it together, it really was just that plus cost. So it really worked out. We had a fantastic time, and there were people there that I never would have had an opportunity to really spend time with because the organizer brought in some folks that they knew that some of us others that were attending didn't know. A couple of relationships, just to mention, Jose Villa, who is like the world's most renowned photographer. He knew one of the other photographers who was attending. They were really good friends, so he came. Now, this is a guy who's charging crazy amounts of money, but well worth it, obviously. But he's working with these crazy talented celebrities, and to be able to pick his brain about how things work and get an inside scoop on some of the stories from those events, it only helps me if I ever get the opportunity to do those kinds of things. And since then, we've really remained friends. I can literally DM him on Instagram. He started following me. He started genuinely asking me about my business. And that's just one guy. Then there was Emily Clark from Dallas, who I'm aware of. We've actually done some collabs outside of the wedding industry. But when it came to an opportunity to do a wedding in Jackson Hole last year, she was the one that pushed me because she knew of me and she knew that I could handle a destination event and that's what my bread and butter is. And that never would have really been top of mind had I not spent some time with her over a course of 3 days and really got a chance to know her and her get to know me. And then the last one was another planner out of the Dallas area, Hannah Kohler, who now is married, Hannah Kohler King. And when it came time for a destination wedding in Santa Fe, New Mexico, she gave me a call and we got to talk about it, see if it was a fit and work some things together. And sure enough, I was on this great event out there. I credit it to this mini that we had out in Palm Springs. I was so impressed by it that's what inspired us to do one in Palm Springs for DJC 2020 when things were locked down. Although we put a twist on it, added some education elements and things like that. But it was sparked from that mini that I did a year or so prior. And now we're doing another one for those in my coaching group and those who are premium podcast subscribers as well out in Austin this year. And there won't be an agenda necessarily as far as education goes. It's really for us to connect with people and continue those hallway conversations. And I think this is something that you can do on these minis that doesn't have to even be people from out of town necessarily. These could be people in your market. You're just the organizer and putting something together. And I'll talk to you about why I think these two types of networking events I feel are going to be the new norm and gain in popularity after another brief word about one of our sponsors. Hey DJs, real quick, Brian B here with a tip. One of the hottest DJ music pools right now is Heavy Hits. Are you familiar with it? You need to be. They cover literally every genre, from top 40 to hip hop to Latin to Afro beats and more. Not only that, but their curated playlists and charts, including trending Spotify and TikTok tracks, are second to none. The interface is easy to use, and they have a ton of exclusive edits, which I use on the regular. But you want to know the best part? For my podcast listeners, I have a special promo code that will give you a 30-day trial for $5. Yep, you heard that right, $5. Go to heavyhits.com and enter the promo code BrianB. That's heavyhits.com, and the promo code is BrianB, all one word, no spaces. Take advantage of this right now and up your music game today. So why do I think that these types of networking are going to be gaining in popularity? Well, I think COVID has a lot to do with it, honestly. And I know it's just another word we don't want to hear anymore, but perspectives have been changed. People want to know one another on a deeper level. They realize our time here is short, whether they had family members or people that they know that may have passed through COVID. So I think people are really looking to go deeper in their relationships than ever before. And if you were in a market where things were really locked down, I think you appreciate these opportunities more and more. I also think that a lot of the conferences and traditional network meetups are so programmed and or surface level from the standpoint of meeting people that you really don't get a chance to know who you're really working with or who you would want to work with. with. And so these little opportunities give you a chance to go deeper than just, hi, this is what I do, this is where I'm from, and I'd like to work with you. You get a chance to see who you're working with. And again, I think it's a byproduct of COVID as well, is that you want to work with people that you feel really get you, that you really want to work with. And so these types of networking opportunities give you the chance to go deeper in a way that the others just don't. So have you thought about a FAM? Have you thought about hosting a mini? You got to consider it. I think when you do that, it elevates you, especially in your market, from being somebody who's always wanting to get to someone who's willing to give. And again, this isn't you covering the cost on all of this. This is you just making time to realize the importance of the value of relationships. And the byproduct of that is very far reaching. Not only could you gain some business from it, but you might help other people gain business, which is a direct result of you putting on something like this. So while you might not benefit directly from it, some of those relationships can be traced back to this particular FAM or mini that you've put together. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, trying to give you some perspective on some different ways to do networking that I think are going to drastically change the landscape of what networking really is. If you have any questions on this, as it says in my outro, message me. Happy to talk more about this. And with that, I'm out of here. See you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. You can find this podcast on multiple platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you have a topic you'd like covered, DM us on Instagram at The Travel DJ Blend. We'd appreciate you sharing the love with a comment or a share on our social media posts for this episode. And if you are really digging the content, help us with the algorithms by leaving a review on any of the platforms we just mentioned. Until our next time together, this is the Travel DJ Blend Podcast.